All right. Hello, everybody. We are live for our next session. We have Sara Roversi joining us today to talk about how we might unleash the regenerative power of food during and beyond coronavirus era that we are in right now. And Sara is joining us from Italy. She's a member, faculty member as part of our Singularity U Italy partner there. So I know that I've seen lots of Italians in our chat. Thanks for being here. And Sara, thank you for joining us. Let me give you a quick brief intro about Sara. She is a systemic thinker and disruptor in the food ecosystem. She works with the globally recognized high-profile think tanks on setting the agenda for the sustainable food industry. She's often a sparring partner of key decision makers in business, government, and institutions. She founded the Future Food Institute in 2014. By analyzing food from both the viewpoints of culture and accessibility. She's begun to map the places where food and culture revolution really is taking place. She studies its dynamics, identifying new niches of fruition and consumption that use the potential of technology and new knowledge that we get from data. She's motivated to solve one of the most significant challenges of our era, and that is feeding humans in a healthy way and taking care of the ecosystem that's hosting us. So such an important conversation right now. Thank you for joining us, Sara. It's all yours.
Thank you so much, guys. I'm very honored to be here with you today. And of course, you all know what we're facing. And I'm very, very happy to share some thought with you about food. And food, you know that for us, we're Italian, food is such an important thing, but it's something that touches everyone. So now I really would love to share with you a presentation to, let's say, think about how we can rethink our system, starting from really a blank sheet. So I really think that food has an incredible regenerative power. Let's start to think about what does food means for us? Which is the role that food plays in our life? Food is life. First of all, food is life. Food is our energy. Food is nourishment. Food is love. And we so much think about that every single day now that we are locked down in our home. Food is family. Food is experiences. We cannot experience stuff like that in these days. Food is inclusion. Food is community. Food is traditions. Is culture. Is deeply connected with our identity, our symbols, the rituals of our society, the values of our society. And food is absolutely one of the most easy language that we all know. Is the best way on how we can represent our culture, our identity, our countries. But as you all know, food is also one of the markets that is facing one of the biggest disruption in history. And also is one of the biggest market in the world. Everybody eats. Young people, old people, rich people, poor people, everyone needs to eat many times a day. We all know that actually food is also one of the industries that is impacting the most on climate change. You know, almost the 23% of the global gas emissions are caused by agriculture, deforestation, bushfire, and we go up to the 37 if we also include all the production of food. But also our food system is seeing huge inequalities. We still have more people suffering for overnutrition that are overweighted than people dying for hunger, starving in the world. And also nowadays, the 70% of the calories that we eat every single day comes from hyper-produced food, hyper-processed food, very sugary, very salty. And then there is another topic that is frustrating me so much. You all know that, let's say, big cities counts no more than the 2% of the terrestrial surface. But we also all know that by 2050, the 70% of the world population are going to live in those very little 2% of the terrestrial surface. So if I'm thinking about that, and I'm thinking about the situation that we're living now, of course, you can suddenly understand what we are facing. So some days ago, Massimo Bottura, you all know probably Massimo Bottura, one of the best chefs in the world, was telling a sentence that was very, very powerful and inspired me so much. He says that this virus has the power to make visible the invisible. And also, I started thinking that nowadays, all the essence of our relationship, all the most important and crucial things in life are really appearing. And so we have now the great opportunity to reset, to reconnect with our body, reconnect with our environment, with our loves, but also we have the chance to restart. So today I really would love to share with you some thought, because in these days I was thinking about the Maslow pyramid. You know, after the World War, was very easy to understand which were the basic needs. And this is what we are living now. It seems like we fell down from the pyramid and now we're looking for our basic needs. So today we're gonna deep dive into the pyramid, really trying to understand which can be the regenerative power of food. And I'm doing that because in 2014, I started the Future Food Institute with a group of bright minds working in different fields, different environment, working in food in different part of the chain. And we were really thinking that food is strictly connected with our culture, of course, and exponential technologies were accelerating and disrupting our relationship with the environment, first of all, with our relationship with food production, with our concept of access to food. In the last years, we have been just thinking about food safety and food security. Nobody was talking anymore about food sovereignty, for example. And then food started becoming more than a medicine, food that had superpowers. So the power of food as our real medicine. Then our eating lifestyle have been completely disrupted. And we ended up to work on understanding how we can create awareness, true awareness around food habits. So today we're going to deep dive into that because I strongly believe that we have an incredible opportunity to pivot and to rewrite the history after this incredible crisis that we all are facing in the equal way. So we talk about eating lifestyle. Eating lifestyle have been completely disrupted. You all know what has been the huge impact of this virus and this pandemic on our industry, on the restaurant industry, for example. Those numbers are the numbers that have been published about China, but I can tell you that Italy is almost the same, and probably we're going to see the same effect all over the world. The 90% of the catering company, the restaurants chains, of course, are closing. The entire cities are locked down. So just the ones that are delivering, of course, had the chance to do something, but anyway, is a huge and massive impact that is impacting on million people. But then we have to think about kids. How many billion kids are now in home? How many billion kids are not at school? How many companies are closed? How many canteens are closed? How many million people and workers, cooks, are not working nowadays? And of course, all of that impacted so much also on the way we are consuming food, procuring food. For example, here in Italy, we're seeing that the delivery system just in 1 week was growing 90%. It's huge. So the entire eating lifestyle of our population, of the entire humanity, have been completely disrupted. We have the chance to reset, and we have to take advantage of that. So let's start to talk about the basics of our Maslow pyramid. Food security, access to food. What is food security? I want to share with you which is the definition of food security. Food security means that all people at all time have physical, social, and economic access to sufficient, safe, and nutritious food that meets their food preferences and dietary needs for an active and healthy life. Now we're talking about the basic needs. So having food, finding food. These are the queues that you see out of the grocery stores in Italy. People queuing for hours to get access to the basic foods. That has been the effect on day one. That has been the effect in our grocery stores. Empty grocery stores. Then we talk about food safety, because after we have the basic needs, cans, people was buying cans, and the consumption of canned food was growing up to the 40%. So after that, we have to think about access not only to food, but also to safe food. And so if we think about food safety and the definition of food safety, everything that relates to safety refers to the conditions that actually allowed us to preserve the quality, the inner quality of the food that we're eating. So how we packaged our food, how we transform our food, how we preserve our food, and also how we cook our food. But today, of course, we're going to talk more about how we're going to deliver this food. And this plays a crucial role in these days. We've studied many amazing cases from China, and I thought that that could happen just in China, but I have to say that after 2 weeks, many amazing stories are coming out also here in Italy. You have seen before, a lot of companies now are implementing service related to food delivery, and not only food delivery, but also zero-touch delivery. And then I want to touch the topic of food sovereignty. And we love to talk about food diplomacy. So if food sovereignty is the right of people to healthy and culturally appropriate food produce through ecologically and sustainable method, and their right to define their own food and agriculture system, I'm wondering, how and where are we going to produce food in the future? Because this is going to be one of the major issues, but maybe also one of the major opportunities that we have. Of course, if we think about food and food sovereignty and where we're going to source food, this opens a huge topic. Because if you deep analyze the food system and how the food system works, it is hyper centralized, and sometimes have logistic solutions that have a nonsense. You strongly understand that there's a huge disorder, there's a huge mess in the food system. And probably this time we have the chance to redesign this system. If we're talking about food sovereignty, of course, we have the topic of agriculture and where we are growing food. And this open to another huge opportunity, and something that nowadays we are really feeling and we see as a thing that actually can happen in many different cities in the world. Thinking about growing food in cities, smart farming, urban farming, and how this actually can impact and change our relationship with food, how we can source fresh food also in hyper-urbanized centers, when in 2050, probably the 70% of us are going to live in huge metropolis. And of course, in these days, a huge wave of people are now starting to garden again, to turn their gardens into an orchard, into a food production place. So if by 2050 we will need to produce more to feed the growing population, I wonder how many times you heard in the last decade, we have to feed 10 billion people. How might we feed 10 billion people? This has been, I think, the title of hundreds of conferences, thousands of scientific paper. How might we feed 10 billion people while protecting the environment? Because all we know how much food production is connected also to climate change and is impacting on the environment. So, of course, I started really thinking about all of that and started understanding what happened in these days and what we can learn. Probably is early to understand which are the learnings, but for sure, what I see is that we have the opportunity to rethink, for the first time, really rethink the system. So, what I'm feeling in these days is the opportunity to reconnect. We are reconnecting with our body. For example, we are cooking. So we were eating multiple times a day, probably out of home. Now everybody is cooking back at home. That's amazing. But do you know that there are countries in which developers, real estate developers, are building apartments without a kitchen? For me, that I'm Italian for sure, is something that is unbelievable. But trust me, if you take out the kitchen from the home, where people are gonna share experience, share stories, cook together, the fact of eating together as a huge and deep relation with our identity and our sociality. Where we are buying food, we are going back buying here. I'm not going anymore in a mall. I can walk and I can have access to local producers, local market. I'm gonna grow food. So probably the food that we are gonna eat are gonna be food grown very close to my house. And how we're gonna eat? Maybe we can eat less produced, less processed food, and we can cook together. We can cook together and eat together back again. And this is happening. Now, this reset is forcing us to do it. We are forced to do this cultural reset. So, this cultural reset is giving us now really the opportunity to deep understand which is the power of food. Energy, life, culture, care, tradition, inclusion, fun, pleasure, all of that. And if we think about that, of course, we can easily think how much food is connected with all the sustainable development goals and how much food is connected with the entire sociality, the entire community. So at the Future Food Institute, we have been developing this map that is our toolbox. And actually, this toolbox is really representing a way and a set of tools where actually you can start to think about the society within the power of food, talking about food diplomacy and how we are sourcing our food, how food can be used to create social inclusion. And then you can think about circular living, thinking in a circular way. So not only implementing new models for circular economy, but thinking in a circular way. I see that in my house every single day. How much food we were wasting. I'm reducing my food waste a lot in these days. I'm reusing, I'm recycling. So thinking in a circular way is going to be a way that can become regenerative for the entire community. Designing climate smart ecosystems. So we have to think about producing food, not just extracting value from the environment, but regenerating our environment. And then food identity. How much food is connected with culture, with our connection and our identity. And last but not least is prosperity. Prosperity indicates all the KPI for business. So thinking in a prosperous way it's strategic to redesign the system in a way that is going to be more equitable for all. We have the chance to restart, and we have to restart now. Now that we have really the chance to have this. It's a blank sheet. It's a blank sheet, and we have now the opportunity to redesign something here together, and this is crucial. SDG number 17, together, partnership. And we have to be really good, because it will be very easy to go back in our companies and do the things like we have been doing until yesterday. So we need to unlearn very fast and to learn the next with the new mindset. And this new mindset need to be driven by prosperity and the thing of creating shared values. So until yesterday, we were just thinking to design things that people want and making things that actually were driven by design thinking and the human-centered innovation. But now we have to think in a different way. We have to think things that planet wants, and we have to involve the nature, involve the planet in our decisions. So turning from the design thinking to the prosperity thinking approach. So the human plus nature-centered innovation. Now, of course, you know, I'm Italian, and I want to just leave you a last message, because every time that you are going to be together, probably in the next days, many times, you're going to have the chance to eat with your roommates, with your family, to cook for your family. Every time we are around the table, we have a huge chance, because with every single bite, yesterday we were thinking that we can have an impact on climate, but I think that at the end of our fork, there's our future. And each time we gather around the table, we are really honoring our past. We are enjoying our present with our friends, but also we are preparing for the future.
Thank you, Sara. I love that final message. And I know that we'll have a lot of people asking for those slides. So hopefully we can find a way to share those if you're open to it.
Yeah, of course. Awesome. Yes.
Do you have time for a couple questions?
Yeah.
Super. All right. I'm going to pull them up and go based on the most popular ones. All right. So the first one comes from Jose. And I think Jose's just been asking some really good questions. So thank you, Jose. He asked, can we prevent getting COVID-19 with what we eat? And if not, or I guess if so, what are some foods that we should be eating right now to help keep us healthy?
Oh, the food that keep us healthy. So probiotics, vitamins, fruits. These are the foods that I would suppose, and I'm eating. I'm in Italy, so I'm exposed, of course, to all of that. So I'm eating the healthiest food ever, because now we need that. A lot of probiotics, and then you are at home, so you can ferment. So you can also practice. I'm doing that a lot in these days. You can prevent food waste, fermenting, and also, of course, creating healthy food.
Got it. Are there, do you have access to fresh fruits and vegetables right now?
Yeah. Yeah, of course, we are lucky here in Italy. Of course, we have a lot of local producers also surrounding our cities. Yes, we have access to fresh food. And actually, the local markets increased in sales in these days compared to the standards. Because actually nowadays going in big malls and big grocery stores takes hours, because you have to queue, because of course in this place where there are a lot of people, they actually prevent to have this kind of big crowd. And so yeah, and also the very small one activated the delivery service, and there are a lot of, we call them like angels, so students that dedicate their time to deliver food of the small grocery stores at home, of old people and so on. So there's a lot of mutual support in these days happening around.
Oh, got it. Yeah. I mean, it's good to hear. I wasn't sure if those markets that would be still open with the fresh fruits and vegetables, even though obviously we need them so much.
Yeah, I have to say, in the first day, everyone was buying any kind of canned food since like the beginning of another world war.
Uh-huh.
Now we is the only thing that we can do. We can go out to grocer, and all the grocery stores in the centers are all open.
Got it. Great. The next one I think is looking at, it says from Emily, would you attribute this outbreak to our food consumption patterns, meaning more animal consumption than plant consumption, and environmental negligence? And I think what she wants to know is, would if we had a more plant-based diet, could that possibly prevent future outbreaks?
So for sure, things are strictly interconnected. And probably we have made the mistake in the past thinking about food in silos. But all things are interconnected. We also know that the spread of this kind of pandemic or viruses and so on is in some way influenced by climate change and the raising of different kind of situation that were not there years ago. So I think that there are interconnection with that. I don't think is the cause, of course, but for sure there are many related causes that are changing and disrupting the environment, and we need to take care of that because we all have seen the numbers. We know the numbers. Science is saying that every single day. And if you know, and if you see the numbers of the death due to climate change, it's you start to cry, even if we're not, because now everybody's crying and we are all suffering because of that, and people is dying for this virus. We see that every single day. It seems to be in a war. At 6 p.m., they're communicating the number of death in our country, and it's big. We don't see the death due to climate change. So I don't know what's the level of perception of that around the world, but for sure, I think that after this crisis, that is touching everyone everywhere in the same way. Rich people and poor people are touched in the same way. Famous people and unknown people are touched in the same way. I'm sure that this is going to change something, and we have the chance to redesign the system. We have to be strong and not doing the same mistake we have been doing till now.
Yeah. I wonder, you bring up a good point about how when you can see the impact that something is having on a daily basis, like you hear about people dying, you see it happening, people next to you are getting sick, like that tends to galvanize us and bring us together, as opposed to something that moves much more slowly, but could have a big impact later. We're just not very well equipped as humans to respond to
No one.
those things.
Yeah, we have a team in Shanghai, a team in Tokyo, and I was there in January, and I was feeling that. So I saw that this thing was happening, but until when this is not touching your life, that is forcing you to change completely your daily habits, you don't really feel that. So probably
Mhm.
this reset finally is gonna let us understand a lot. I hope that we are gonna unlearn very fast.
Yeah. All right. There's a couple people that have been asking about whether or not, and if this isn't your area of expertise, obviously just say so. But do you know if fasting or cleansing can help strengthen the immune system?
Yeah, this has been a big topic of many conversation in the last days. I think yes. I'm not a doctor, so I don't want to say things that are not in my area of study. I'm gonna start to try. I want to, because actually many people around me are trying and they're seeing many positive effects, and I have people suggesting that. So I'm gonna try, and I can keep you posted on that.
Sounds good. Yeah, we'll be on the lookout. All right, and then maybe a more of a unique and fun one to end on. Do you prefer Italian dishes from ancient Rome or from the Middle Ages?
Oh my goodness, this is a crazy question. I eat everything and I'm super curious. So I love Italian food, but actually, I was taking almost to overseas flight a week. So I was one of the crazy people traveling like a crazy, probably too much. And I feel responsible for that. Um, I would say I actually love a lot also foods not only from Italy. So I'm a strange Italian. I rather prefer explore because for me is a way of studying and learning about other cultures. So I love so much to experience different kind of foods every single day. So now it's not so easy because I can just source the food from my land. So I'm cooking the traditional dish of my grandma in these days.
Oh, all right. So, well, then, so what's for dinner tonight?
Oh, I have to open the fridge. I will cook with the things that I'm gonna find in the kitchen. So the kitchen is an amazing fab lab. So I really invite you all in these days to use your creativity, play with food because it's an amazing way of really thinking and making and failing and so enjoying the kitchen in these days.
Thank you for that. And do you have any YouTube channels or people to follow that are doing fun stuff with food right now?
Oh, my Food Alchemist team started today. So you can follow them at the Future Food. Now is on Future Food Italia channel, but I'm going to tell them to do it also for the international audience.
Oh, cool. Great. Yeah. Send us a link to it and we'll share it with everybody else.
Absolutely. They are crazy guys doing amazing things with food. They're a crazy group of scientists, culinary scientists that are having so much fun with food, turning the kitchen in a science lab or a lab in a kitchen.
Awesome. All right. Well, thank you for giving us your time and your insights today. It was a pleasure to have you. I'm sure we'll have you back in the future for another virtual session with us. But thanks for being here.
That's great. Thank you so much, guys. Bye.
Stay healthy. See ya.
Thank you. Ciao.
Okay. Well, with that, I'm definitely hungry. Got to go figure out how I eat some lunch on this schedule. So coming up next, we have Sunny Coley. We're going to be talking about digital technologies are being used right now for epidemic management, some obstacles, opportunities, and outcomes. Let's do a couple quick house cleaning slides here. For those of you that are new, welcome to this stream. Yes, we have replays. And if you missed a session or just want to go back and check out what we've talked about so far, you can always do that by going up and clicking on schedule in the top left. It'll bring up all the sessions that we've done so far, as well as future sessions. So you can go back and watch those at your leisure. If you want to continue to engage with folks and connect with them outside of just this chat, please join us on the Facebook group that we created for this. Also, if you have any ideas for how we might solve the current challenges, we have 6 prompts up right now on Be Innovative. Go and check those out. It's really easy to go and contribute some ideas, respond to other people's ideas, and they do it in a really fun way when it really helps you think about how to approach the different challenges that we have posed there from different perspectives. The YouTube videos are all the sessions from yesterday are up on YouTube. So if you're looking for subtitles or for streaming it in a different language, please go and check out su.org/COVID-19-videos. They're all there. You can always tweet at us throughout these sessions. I'm at Hoffmania and at SingularityU is there as well. We will be dropping these links into the chat just shortly. A member from my team will do that. And with that, let's go ahead and end this session, and I will see you shortly when we start to talk to Sunny. Thanks, everybody.